Well, good day, it's Thursday morning. It's about 9 o'clock. It's bright sunshine. It's still a bit smoky. And May's off fishing. She's been taking fish out of the dam. People are always asking, do we eat the fish out of the dam at the farm? Well, this is some that she's got drying this morning in the sun. And there's a load in the fridge and freezer, and everything is good in the world. Now this morning I was looking on the BBC website, and it transpires that in the UK we have large supermarkets. Asda's one of the largest, Tesco, Morrison's, Sainsbury's, and there are a few. But such as shortages of fresh food in the UK, veg and etc., that they started to ration it and limit so many tomatoes, so many cucumbers, so many lettuce per customer. So, you know, on it goes, or here it comes. Now they're blaming these shortages of adverse weather conditions in Europe. Now, for all the people, this is May's cabbage patch and etc. etc. Now I've got a good friend to this channel, David from Wales, David Robert Thomas, and David is an absolute European nutcase. And I mean that in the nicest sense of the word. David was beside himself when we voted to leave the EU, and he still resents it to this day. But my uncle in Lancashire, ever since I was a nipper, he had a 100-acre dairy farm near Chorley, and the EU has paid him, well, up to us leaving. The EU was paying him for years and years and years and years, for almost as long as I can remember, to sell his dairy herd, sold off his milk quota, and leave the fields, leave his 100 acres fallow, i.e. producing nothing. His buildings deteriorated, his machinery deteriorated, as it would do over the years, you know. And he was making more money off the EU by lying in bed than working like a good farmer that he was. And this is what you get when you let an unelected load of bureaucrats decimate our farming industry. I mean, that's just one farm. This was going on all over the UK, you know, and the UK agricultural system was just flattened by that kind of action. And during the Second World War, we had, I mean I wasn't alive then, but there was the Dig for Victory campaign, because Britain could not feed itself during the Second World War, and that was with, I think we only had about 40 million population, and now there's close on 70 million population. We have no chance of feeding ourselves, I say our as a Brit, unless there's radical action taken. And will the government take these radical actions? They should be giving farmers money to plant, to grow. Or like my grandfather during the Second World War. My grandfather had a farm, and the ministry came to him and they said, right, he had a dairy farm, and they said to him, right, you need to plough those fields, and they told him exactly what he had to plant: potatoes, cabbage, etc., etc., to feed the nation. And he had no choice. But he used to plough with a horse, with a Shire horse, affectionately named Derby. And I think that's a bit of Lancashire sense of humour. And he had a bad leg because he got his leg crushed in a mining accident, and they wanted to amputate his foot, but he wouldn't let them. So he walked with a limp because his ankle was totally fused. It wouldn't move. It was just, you know, but so he couldn't walk behind the horse, plough these fields that were on a slope. So he went out and he actually bought a tractor, and he was one of the first farmers in the northwest of England with a tractor. That was feed yourself. Down here, you know, we've got the aquaponics, which are doing really well, and the tomatoes are going really well in the aquaponics, as well as a few other things. And we've gained another 2 cattle. We've got, not only we've got Scruffy now, but we've got Greta, who came to us last week in pretty much the same condition as Scruffy came to us 3 months ago. And Greta had her calf with her, a little bull calf. So we've now got 3 cattle here at home. And the brothers Grimm said to me, oh, we want to sell some cattle. And he said, well, why do you want to sell some cattle? Well, there's not enough grass to feed them now. And I'm going, wow, do you know what? They're both in the late 50s, early 60s, and they've lived here all their life. And every single year, the dry season comes as a big shock to them. The grass doesn't grow, there's no rain. So it's odds on that some will get sold in this next few days. Frankly, I would be delighted if they sold the lot. And then May and I could rent the farm out and just get some money back off it, and there you go. Very dry. I have to get the leaf blower out and clean this drive off. It's very, very dry at the minute. Last rainy season, it rained every month. We had some rain, and my grass didn't go brown last year. It all stayed green. This some green here under the shelter of the trees, because the sun doesn't bake it dry. The sun here, when I used to come here on holidays, I used to think, wow, everything grows in Thailand in the tropics, you know, it's so lush and green. But of course I wasn't coming this time of year, and this time of year the sun is merciless. So we'll just have a little look how some of our tomatoes are going on. Look at all these rascals. Loads of tomatoes, loads of baby ones forming. Around here, loads of tomatoes. Around here, loads and loads. And when I touch these tomato plants, my grandfather, the one who had the gammy leg, comes into my mind, because he used to grow tomatoes in his greenhouses on his farm, and the smell of tomatoes always reminds me of him and childhood on his little small holding. When I came along, he just had about 15 acres, which is still a good size, but it was more like a market garden with pigs and poultry and the like. So I'm just having sex with my tomatoes here, my tomato flowers, fertilizing them all up. Look at all those little babies. And just by doing this hand pollination, just ensures that literally all the flowers produce fruit. You're not waiting for chance. Tomatoes are an easy pollination. They will pollinate with bees, as well as insects, etc., etc. So I must bring some scissors down and nip these tops off. I don't want them growing any taller. I don't want them going any taller at all. So, I love growing tomatoes. They're easy. You know, if you're in the UK, we're now towards the end of February. If you're in the UK and one tomato, all the seeds out of one tomato will provide you enough plants to keep you going all year. And they're so easy to grow. You can grow them indoors, you can grow them on a windowsill, you can grow them on a balcony, grow them in a conservatory, in a big pot, in a bucket. Get a 3-gallon bucket, some good compost. You will need to feed them with some liquid fertilizer as you go along, but there's no excuse for not having half a dozen tomato plants. If you've got a greenhouse, happy days. Or you could grow them under, you can make a greenhouse with polythene. Too early yet in February, but you could get them out, get them into a greenhouse. Say, if you started them off at the beginning of March, by the time they're ready to go into a greenhouse, it will be probably April, and then you're going to have tomatoes June, May, June, July. They'll keep producing. Stephen's here. He's asleep in the guest room. Stephen and I have been friends for probably 30 years now, and we're so alike and so different. I'm going to bed early and getting up early, and he's going to bed late and getting up late. May's little veg plot. I dug out of here the other day some ginger, some fresh ginger. My God, it was the best ginger I've ever had. So sweet and flavoursome. I made some Indian curry with it. These are maize hydroponics, effectively a week on. So this is celery. I can smell it, it's beautiful. All is good in the world. I shall love you and leave you. See you later, bye bye for now.